Support for Donnybrook, Last Call, is provided in part by Design Air Heating and Cooling.
Except I breathe heavily. Thanks for joining us for Last Call. This is where we broach those topics we couldn't get to in the first segment. Jessica, it's been crazy at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch because some, I think, Russian organization has gotten into the files and demanded ransom. On March the 5th, there was supposed to be a deadline, either hand over the money or we're going to release all sorts of information. But in the past couple of weeks, I don't know if you get the print edition, but it's been crazy with the sections cattywampus and the obituaries not alphabetized. And what do you know about this?
Yeah, so, I mean, like everyone else, I noticed that crazy line on the website, just being like, sorry, we are disrupted. You know, we were all sort of looking today to see would there be a release of, you know, information that this ransomware, you know, group had, you know, put out there. But it seems like Lee has probably paid. There was no dump. And then on top of it, at the end of the day, Lee Enterprises put out an SEC filing, pretty vague, but did say that the threat has been contained, so we can assume that they've paid up.
I mean, I know that you don't want the information out there, but man, giving in to blackmailers, I'm sorry, I just can't see it.
I think actually what happened was the ransomware people threatened to release all of the unpublished editorials I wrote for the Post. And Lee paid up real fast. Now, I have no inside information whatsoever. I know it's been a pain to our readers, and I've apologized to a bunch of our readers, and so bless their hearts for the ones who have stayed with us. But we've put out a paper every day, and sometimes it's been a struggle. But
it's a brave new world, and I mean, this is just sort of it's part of doing business. It's sad, and it's so repulsive.
But why the Post-Dispatch? I mean,
no, it's happening everywhere. It happened to the radio station I worked for, and it's 250 sister radio stations.
Okay, all right.
Probably 5-6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And everyone tries to keep it kind of quiet, but now it's so ubiquitous.
Yeah.
It's really another case of ask not for whom the bell tolls, because the thing that gets me is just this past week it was announced that our federal government was going to stop the counter efforts to Russia. That we had a whole, building of federal employees somewhere who would try and wreak havoc in Russia because Russians were doing that here. And apparently we were going to stop that. What the latest is now, I don't know. Sometimes these federal decisions change. Yeah. But like the FDA building in downtown St. Louis. And Alvin, I should ask you about that. It was announced this week that the Trump administration was going to shutter a laboratory on Newstead that investigates medications for impurities and carcinogens. Call me crazy, but I think that's a very good use of federal dollars.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
right. And even though the decision was reversed, maybe not too unexpectedly the next day or shortly thereafter, I was surprised at the kind of the meek, almost non-existent reaction. If there are people opposed to Donald Trump and his actions, they weren't saying much of anything. There was no clamor, no lawsuits being filed. I don't know, maybe editorials were being written and they weren't published yet, but it just seemed to me that in that case, and like many others, those who are opposed to the president's official actions and policies are pretty weak these days.
Well, I don't know what it is, and it's a thing where, like, all right, a lot of people dislike the president. Okay, that can be said of a lot of presidents. But this kind of like, Elon Musk led slash and burn and not know what you're doing, and the whole National Institute of Health thing, and no one really knows what's going on. That's bad. All right. And I think you could be a Republican and stand up and say, like, now wait a minute, I'm going to oppose this. That's the missing voice. Democrats can get up and raise as much heck as they want to. No one is going to listen.
You mean Republicans like Liz Cheney? They're going to.
How about
they're going to be
Wagner?
Mowed down.
How about Ann Wagner?
Ann Wagner is not going to cross Donald Trump.
Well, somebody has got to say, like, look, I agree, but we cannot stop researching cancer medications and things
I
like
agree.
that. I mean, come on. I mean, that is not really taking a brave stand.
Well, you know what? I'm waiting for another brave stand where a Democrat comes out and says, man, you know what? The federal government has been wasting billions of dollars for decades upon decades. But I don't hear anybody saying that either.
Well,
I mean, you know, this idea is everybody will agree if you say the federal government is wasteful and throws money down a drain. Everybody will agree, and they say, so we want to cut this. Well, not this. This is mine. You go ahead and cut yours. And so everybody who had an office being closed is going to protest their office being closed, which means none of the offices get closed, which means none of the inefficiency or waste ever gets fixed.
But when it comes to safety and protecting the citizens of the United States of America, then I don't want to see corners cut, and I don't want the slash and burn. I want an efficient government as much as anybody else around this table. But if it has to do with planes, trains, automobiles, medication, food, whatever, water supplies, I'd rather a much more thoughtful approach.
First of all, they haven't closed it, so nothing happened.
But
the other one, are you sure that work could not have been done anywhere else?
And perhaps it could be,
perhaps
but
it could be.
they were saying
that's all we're
that
saying
it would,
here is
but
let's
they were
take a
saying,
look at it, right?
But they were saying that to dismantle it, that it took a lot to put it together, and because of all of the biohazards and that kind of thing that they're working with, that it's not just sort of a pop-up FDA site, pop-up FDA analysis site. It's a lot more complex.
Yeah, I mean, if I drove 100 miles an hour backwards from here to Kansas City and I didn't get in an accident, that doesn't mean it was a good idea at any stage of the way. So, I mean, this is just out of control.
I get you.
I bet you could, though.
I bet you. Everybody wants to reduce waste unless it's in my hometown.
I mean,
then we're okay with waste.
You can be okay with reducing waste. I'm not saying that I think that this is the circumstance, but is someone saying, okay, we're closing this building, and then the next day turning around and saying it's open, is that an efficient use of time? I mean, you get a feeling he's just going down a sheet and being like, we don't need that.
I think Jessica's
we
right.
had 4 years of that before. If anybody's surprised by Donald Trump's action, did you forget about the first 4 years?
But
the man lives to create chaos.
Right, but Elon Musk is an additional, I mean, that's a new sidebar issue, sideshow.
And the military is the
Joe-
most wasteful thing we got going on. I'm sorry, but that's the one we said, like, hey,
Yeah.
I think what's happening, Joe, also, you don't want in an economy like ours to freak out the federal employees who are smart, who are educated, who are hardworking, because then they're going to ditch their jobs and go to the federal government. And I've already seen this happen. They're going to go to the private sector, excuse me. You see this at the VA, where doctors know, hey, this ship of state is kind of unsteady. I better go to the Cornell School of Medicine. And I use that example because I know someone who just did that. And you start saying to federal employees who are investigating your drugs on Sunday, your jobs are gone. On Monday, no, you got your jobs. They're going to say, this is nonsense. We're out of here. And that, if you want decent, smart employees working for you, you have to treat them well.
Yeah, I want them to keep my plane in the air, too.
Thank
That's
you.
one.
Consistency of message. Yeah,
Well, that'd be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And please don't drive backwards.
Little thing like that.
Tariffs in, tariffs out. It's kind of like, remember we were kids and we did the hokey pokey in gym?
Right.
It's like, no.
So what you're saying is elections have consequences.
Ding.
Yeah, but nonetheless, stupid consequences don't have to be put up with because somebody got elected.
Well, there also might have been people who were elected because they thought they should cut the waste in government. But we're ignoring that side of maybe that's why people voted a certain way.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I want to.
It's okay to disagree with that.
I want to defend America. Let's go attack 17 countries tomorrow. I mean,
Okay.
Right.
We're out of time, unfortunately. But tell you what, we'll be back with another last call next week, and of course, another Donnybrook next Thursday and forever on 9pbs.org. Well, long after we're gone, I'm sure they'll be watching this in outer space. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. See you next week.